Recording.
Ready? Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. It is 7:01. All up right for the invitation, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that we feel your presence during this meeting tonight and that you will guide us as we strive to make good decisions for our city. We are grateful to be involved in useful work and pray that you will grant us the wisdom to govern and to respect the needs of our citizens. Father, remind us that we are stewards of your authority and that it is our job to help build a community that is worthy of every citizen that lives here. Help us to listen and understand to all with goodwill. May we find new ways to lead our city and move in the direction of progress and prosperity. Watch go about our daily lives, and may we feel your unfailing grace and strength throughout the days ahead. We ask all of these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving up to item 4, announcements. Is there any announcements?
So the service clubs will be having a flag ceremony at the city park Monday, June 14th, 6 p.m. They are still looking at the city to dig the hole and then bury it back. I think Kevin is.
Yeah, just, that's this Monday?
Coming up. And the fire department will be up there to oversee it. Yep. And then the farmers market meeting, we'll have our next meeting Wednesday, 10 p.m. We're going to use the back room at Rancheros this time. There's a large group, so we're going to kind of figure out where to go there. It's just going to be more brainstorming, trying to get everything lined out. And then the last one, September 4th, Tawakoni Volunteer Fire Department is going to do a fish fry. We'd like to use the city park. I guess we'll go ahead and submit a request for that. What I got right now.
Was that September 4th?
Yes,
Oh, September the 4th.
yes. That'll be the Saturday of Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
All right. I have one quick announcement. I just want to introduce our 2 interns who are with us from UT Dallas. They're joining us via Zoom. There's this year's city administrator's micro internship is Shapal Daughtery and Jeremiah Brewer. They're both masters in public administration students, and they're helping us get funding and grants for our water plant.
Welcome, guys. Thank y'all.
Any other city announcements? Any citizens related to the agenda item? You ready?
I can give you 2.9.
You give me 2, but these are not agenda. Not agenda.
One of them's through that.
No, neither is an agenda.
Citizens input request.
What?
Speaking on the citizens input request. There's 2.
I know you give me 2, they're not related to the agenda item.
Not, one of them doesn't say anything about the citizens input.
Number item D.
No, one says complaint, the other says read public comment. It says agenda in which you wish to address, none. Agenda which you wish to address, not applicable.
Yeah.
All right, I
I
don't see
thought
Rhonda.
that-
Oh, I do see Rhonda now.
I thought that was referring to the
So-
citizens input. Is that what it's referring to, Rhonda? No.
So, okay, so it's
Okay.
not, okay, so we straight,
Okay, I'm sorry.
okay, moving on to item 6, consent agenda item. Subsection 6A,
approval of minutes from May of 2021 and May of 27th of 2021. Subsection B, approve bills paid, and those to be paid from May of 2021. Subsection C, approval of financial reports for May of 2021. Subsection D, court reports, month of May of 2021. Subsection E, police department, there are none. Subsection F, public works, work order report, completed and outstanding for May of 2021. Subsection G, public works report for the month of May of 2021. And I've got some notes over here if anybody has questions on that. Subsection H is the permit report for the month of May of 2021. Subsection I, code enforcement report, there are none. Subsection J, EDC minutes, there are none. Subsection K, keep Tawakoni beautiful, minutes for April 15th of 2021. And subsection L, planning and zoning from 2/6 of 20. These are right dates, guys. 2/6 of 20, 3/5 of 20, 4/2 of 20, 4/27 of 20, 2/4 of 21, 3/4 of 21, 3/15 of 21. The meeting was canceled on 3/25. Oh, I'm sorry, 3/15/2021. That meeting was canceled, as well as the 3/25 meeting was canceled, as well as April 1st of 2021 meeting was canceled. The chair would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through L.
I second the motion.
Robin first, Pam second, all in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
It is unanimous. Okay, getting back to old business, this is something that came up on the agenda last year because of COVID. Actually, I think there's two things we weren't fixing to discuss, but this particular one, we weren't able to, the council wasn't able to address this. I guess it was last month or month before last that we had both Woody and Arnold was with us last time.
Yes.
For Ameritex services. The chairman entertain a motion for discussion or take action. We do have representatives from both companies here. If you have some, you want to lead off?
So has this been sent to them? or-
Yeah, I believe. Woody, did you get an email from Annette on?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I got it. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, to be here, I didn't get anything yet.
There was an attachment with that,
Oh, no, I didn't get an attachment.
that then you didn't open it. Yeah, there was an attachment. Let me get this to you.
Oh, yeah.
So we sent over, just looking at kind of doing some contract negotiations, Woody. I know you've been with us for many years.
Yes, sir.
And just some thoughts in there to try to negotiate a little bit. Give you a chance to read that over and kind of give us your thoughts on any of that.
Okay. So since we're letting him read that, I went back and dug out the information that we first received for this. Okay, and looking at this, everything on sanitation solutions from what I've compared, unless I've missed something, looks pretty much exactly the same. Okay, so if I come to Ameritex, there's a few, and I haven't identified all of them probably, but there's a few small changes. And so there were a few increases from what we received with what would have been our contract for, this year moving forward. So since, I'm going to say within inside of a year, there's actually been some changes. Where we didn't have that with sanitation solutions.
Were they significant?
They weren't significant.
No,
They weren't significant, but I mean, I say they weren't. I mean, if you're going to say, so your roll-off rates, for instance, your daily rental is $4 a day, it's $4.50 a day. That's not that big difference, but there is a difference that's something that stood out quickly. And so, you know, there's some of those things that we need to make sure we're looking at. I don't know if anybody else was able to take a look at that. Some people may not have had those original rates. I don't know. This was something we ran into quite some time back.
I think on the Ameritex bid, as well as Sanitation Solutions, I believe, they both offer $1,000 to the fire department and some
Scholarships.
scholarships. And
Do you guys have any firsthand knowledge of what, I know you know your operations, but do you scholarships and things like that?
They're 500 each.
Yeah.
500 to the boy. So they're exactly the same.
Okay.
so where I was going with that is I believe that Ameritex is willing to up the fire department to 1,500 instead of 1,000, and also give 500 to our library, which needs money very bad.
That was Ameritex.
Yes.
But that's not up in the college tuition. It's leaving that one the same.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm ready
That
to
was-
respond.
Go ahead and respond, will you?
Oh, okay. Everything that I see here, I wouldn't have a problem in matching. The only thing that I couldn't do is porta potties. We don't have porta potties. But the one thing that's not shown in here is that we offered you guys 7 houses to be demolished, and 2 of those were absolutely free. And that was signing the contractual agreement right away.
You said 7, total of 7 and 2 were free. What's the, is that?
It's that for a signed agreement, and those are absolutely free. And then the way it reads, I believe, is 2 every year thereafter.
That's what I recall too. Okay. Okay, I wasn't be sure.
And I think that would be an awful valuable, asset for the city.
If we can get permission to tear them down, that's
If you can get permission, that's
the
absolutely right.
hard part.
Okay. Okay.
Place is condemned.
We can get them down if we get code enforcement. If we have good code enforcement, consistent code enforcement, we can start the process. Council can condemn them. We'll get the houses to take down if they're out there. And I think they are.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
So,
They have,
what's,
so they got 2 demo jobs per year. I mean, I guess the only major difference may be that the 2 additional for the sign up, for the sign on for the contract.
That's correct.
Well, the big difference is Sanitation Solution actually tears the houses down and loads them up. From what I recall, is that right, Woody?
That's exactly right. They bring the equipment, push the house, and load it in the dumpster. And the only thing, and Woody, correct me if I'm wrong, you're giving away 2 free ones, but otherwise what we pay is the tipping charge. You haul it back to Paris and we pay the dumpster.
That's correct. And you
I mean,
get 10 houses demolished, with the city only paying for the disposal fees.
During the course of the contract?
Yes.
During the course of the
Yeah.
contract.
Now,
You
of course
You get 2 right off the bat and then 2 every year for the 5-year.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And the difference with, I think, with Ameritex, they'll do the haul off and stuff, but I don't believe you do the actual demolition.
No, sir, we don't do the actual.
You'll haul it off, so, I just wanna make sure everybody's under the same page.
Yeah.
Of what we've got here.
so Woody, on your first 2, there's no tip fee?
No tip.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's not insignificant.
No,
sir.
If you use it,
And I'm sure if the city got on the ball and we got all 10 of them in one shot, they might even give us throw us a bone.
And if we do a little planning and find the 2 biggest houses to do the free ones, That's how we get ahead of Sanitation Solutions.
It's a smart man.
Just like, I just want that out there, Woody. I want you to know.
Seems like we're really close to the same. You know, there's one that offers one thing that the other one doesn't offer, right? I mean, that's on both sides. I mean, some benefits here, some benefits there.
And the porta potties, the porta potties would be free as far as functions that you guys have throughout the city, stuff like that, and we do provide those for free.
And how many times a year, or how many, or?
As far as that, I mean, we haven't had, with something this size, I don't feel like you guys would have a problem as far as, you know, I mean, there's not gonna be 20 to 30 porta potties.
Right.
I don't think we abuse it. That's what,
Yeah.
that's what you're getting at.
No, I don't think so.
But I do like, what I like about Ameritech is it's a family-owned company. You can call and talk to the owner of this company. Where Sanitation Solutions is the second largest company in the United States. I'm just thinking the little guy's gonna be more flexible on something that you just needed right now.
Well, you gotta remember, I want to say his name is Jason, Sanitation Solutions, is that his name in there?
Jason Stevens and Josh Gray was the
Yeah,
original.
so even though, and I completely agree with you, don't get me wrong, but those guys, from what I understand, provide an almost family-like conversation when they are called upon for something that we have to know. Thursday, we may have a problem, or Wednesday afternoon, we may have a problem, but at least trashed it, get picked up or whatever. I mean, from what I gathered from Cody and some of the other ladies, that they're pretty easy to work with and jump on things.
They will, you know, have cameras and they check and make sure, hey, it wasn't them, or, you know, to double check and make sure as far as the miss on the trash.
And let me,
Yes, sir.
and let me remind you, when Sanitation Solutions came in, well, when when fuel jumped up, 7 or 8, 10 years ago, so high. Sanitation Solutions came in and they had the right to accelerate their rates. And Josh came to council, it was in the late winter, and, presented the contract and said, we need to raise rates. And the council asked him at my urging, if he would hold off raising rates until October 1, when we could put it in the budget. And reluctantly, he agreed to do that. And that was a big number for them to swallow to help us balance our budget. So, you've had that kind of history with them too.
And let me add this as well. You didn't see scholarship offers and all the benefits in the contractual agreements, and the amendments until Josh Gray started the company. Now everybody comes in when they bid this particular project. What they'll do is an open records request, get a copy of our contract, and then they mirror everything that's in there when we already were giving it to you. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want the council to be as informed as possible on both companies, because this is a pretty important topic, and I want the council to make a good, sound decision on this. I mean, do y'all have any other questions or concerns or?
I think the only other thing is something that Leon brought up, that Ameritex was willing to do was, obviously, it sounds like everything that was already said and handed to Woody, but I think the only additional thing that Leon mentioned was a $500 donation to the library.
And that's in the fire department.
The city library. Well, I think he's holding something with that. I think the only I mentioned that I've never, I've seen this list, but that to me is kind of something that would be nice for our city, for the library. And it says in here, any other recommended city entities or something like that. I forget what it said.
I don't think a
And
lot
it-
of
it
people
helps-
realize
it
how
helps
much they
everybody.
use the library, because a lot of people use it to do job searches. Kids use the computers in there to do homework and things like that, and that library
Oh, yeah.
runs pretty much on donations and whatever the city supplies to them, so that
Right.
they struggle. So I would like to see them be able to get.
And I
some
think
money.
that's one of the things that Woody just, he's shaking his head, so it doesn't.
I
So-
agree to everything that was on this particular document, with the exception again of the porta potties. And I mean, if the
Right.
library needed an additional $500, that's not a problem.
Chris, do you mind reading that so the audience knows? Because I feel like the audience is.
So the library wasn't on here. I'm ashamed of myself, but I didn't think about that. One of the things I put in there was, the pink trash cans for the breast cancer survivors. The porta potties, which he said he could do. And then increasing the college scholarships from 500 to 750 each. And the fire department from 1,000 to 1,500.
And the library would be.
So now we'd add the library if he'd be willing to go with that.
And are we considering the library now as for, they get free trash, right? I would guess.
Yes.
I just want everyone to understand what items or issues or whatever that were brought up with Woody.
I think it's really important about the demolished houses, actually. Because when you start talking about actually knocking them down and having someone willing to do that for you, that's a big deal.
Sure is.
And then take into consideration that they both offer pretty much the same. You get a little bit more here and a little bit more there. One of the things that go through my head is creating the headache with the citizens and the whole swap over and all that.
That's true too.
I think that Sanitation Solutions has taken care of us these last few years, or last 10, I think, that I know of.
That's correct.
They're willing to meet the extra requirements. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we go with them again.
So I want to second that motion, but I want to make sure I clarify one more
So
time.
let's clarify the motion
Yeah.
first.
So, and go ahead.
Clarify the motion to
Clarify
go
your
with
motion.
Sanitation Solutions. for
Okay,
contract.
you didn't say that.
I'm sorry.
That's good.
So, and I want to add to his motion, and my seconding is to make sure that, that this is the current contract that was presented with the addition of the breast cancer cans, the addition of $750 for each boy and girl scholarship from 500 to 750, and then increase the yearly donation to our fire department from 1,000 to 1,500. And we would add a donation to our city library for $500. I'll second the motion for that clarification.
Sure. Okay, all in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon,
Pam Reed.
Chris Burkett.
It is unanimous. Woody, thank you. Congratulations on that. Didn't get your guys' name. But, and I'll talk to Arnold tomorrow. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow I'll get with him. And, I mean, you both bring a big part, a big contribution that would be beneficial for the city. I think just what I've heard here that I think the make or break thing was the tearing down and demolishing houses and tearing them off is what it sounds like to me. That's the consensus that I got from that. And so it didn't have anything to do with the service or your record and everything. So I encourage you to come back and don't give up. At this point, before I move on, I'd like to go ahead. You guys are more than welcome to stay, but it's gonna be boring to you. Okay, Woody's jumping up. So, you don't have to be told. But yeah, y'all are more welcome to stay, but you're more welcome to go ahead and go too. I know y'all got lives on and things like that.
We appreciate you guys'
You
time.
bet. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much. Thank you, Woody. Okay, still in old business, moving on to item 7, subsection D. Discussion interaction on resolution 377-6-8-21, authorizing the mayor or the city administrator to execute a purchase agreement with Peacemaker Technologies for the purchase of various components of the police department equipment and provide effective date. This is something that's been going on. One of the other old agenda items from way back when that we just, during that COVID, we just weren't able to have consistent council meetings. We finally dug in, I guess, once we really got going with the Zoom and the YouTube and everything. That helped tremendously, and we're gonna go ahead and continue that, even though we're open now. I heard from a lot of citizens that they wanted to go ahead and continue that for those that can't make it. And I think it's a good idea for everybody to be able to at least watch at home that can't make it up. Even if they could make it up, there's very limited seating that they can sit at. So I want to keep that going. Anyway, you've all got documentation on these. I need to remind everyone that I think it was back around the first of the year. What happened was Brandon put up a number of items on the Renee Bates auction site in order to upfit cars. At the time, there was a proposition of leasing a police truck. I'm not gonna go through the specs of it, and then also a public works truck. And it was like a week after that, this computer issue came up because one or two of the computers for the squad cars broke. So it was tit for tat. We either did the computers and no cars, or we did the cars and no computers. So what he did, he came up and I think they increased, they got somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000. Does that sound correct to you, Ned, for the equipment that was auctioned?
It was closer to that.
So it would really not be a net debit or deduction from the current budget, because they have sold this equipment, and it would pay for the first year of these police computers. They are very much needed. These other ones, they lasted one of them lasted 12 years and it's still going, but it is something that's very needed. These are a little bit higher technology than what we're accustomed to, and we're gonna have to really look at that. So that being said, does anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments on that?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I looked at it and this list here, I noticed that the expiration date was April 30th, 2021.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we have to get another price list?
Well, actually,
More accurate?
we have one.
This is the most recent. She just didn't change the date.
Yeah.
She sent
Is that the one
Okay.
she just emailed
This
over?
is the last one.
Okay, so it is a current rate. That was my biggest issue.
I wanted to read off real quick on the same
Good
subject.
catch, man.
Huh?
That's a good catch.
And this is give me just one moment, guys. There's something very important about this. I want to make sure I cover it. No. not finding it right now. Basically, my discussion with Peacemaker, they have a dedicated person down there. I don't think it's a grant. I hadn't got a real clear understanding of it, but she was able to pull up on her computer monies that we eligible for in the amount of $359,000, which would be paid this year, half of which next year, to cover the cost, not only the computers, a very broad range of other that the police may need. She said it's extremely broad. This is an extremely simple process to go through. They have a professional down there that does nothing but this. And I just wanted all y'all to know about that because it's a huge deal. I don't know what I've done.
And Mayor, to add to that, what I understand is us going into a contract with Peacemakers outlet all the time. Us being in a contract, we could call them, or a lot of times in which they would actually call us and say, hey, this is available now. Do y'all want us to put your name in for it?
Yeah.
So we kind of have they've kind of got this, it's like, I forget what they call it.
Yeah.
It's not a grant.
Yeah.
But we have the of money to maybe go out and look at. And I don't know if you kind of may be able to add into what it may be called. They didn't call it a grant, they called it. But we have that outlet, that person free of charge, not having to pay them to look for monies for police department. It's only for police department. It's only money to be used. But I from what you said and what I understand too, is there are numerous things that they could spend the monies on. Shall we get it?
Do you know what some of those are?
No, you said it was very broad. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you have to spend it on technology or you have to spend it on this. They said there's a broad range of things.
More specifically.
Well, we would once we qualify and get it.
Oh, I got you.
Are you talking about like a loan with a forgiveness option?
No,
It's not a loan.
No, it's not a loan.
Oh,
It's free monies.
Oh,
It's actual.
I know that my son-in-law is a sergeant in the police department in Arkansas, and I know that they got something from the federal government. It was federal monies that were given to the police department. And I know they used it for protective equipment, but it may be under the same thing.
It could be. And again, this is in the infant stages. Obviously, this is just something they're telling us about. They're not going to get real specific because we're not even a customer yet. Right. So I guess really and truly, they're telling you about it because it's sort of a selling point at this. Hey, we also do this for you free. It's part of what comes with us. You get this with us is what they're telling us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we would find out more obviously if we go into this, but at the end of the day, we've got to get computers. Right now, we have one working computer.
Back to the agenda item, we have already approved the computers.
We have
As a
approved the
council,
computers.
We're just approving them.
Approved the resolution to enter into a contract or enter into business with Peacemaker Company.
I make a motion.
It's called the American Rescue Act. I've got the information here now. It's called the American Rescue Act, our NDC/handheld/desktop are eligible under this act. It is not a reimbursement like the CARES Act. It already has the funds available, 50% this year, 50% next year. And then I've got the coordinator's name that goes with that. That's our contact. And let me move that so I don't lose it again. So that's not a bad deal. I want everybody to know about that as well.
I made a motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, Chris first, Robin second, all in favor.
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Family,
It is
Chris
unanimous.
Burkett.
It is unanimous. I'm moving on to, we're still in old business. Item 7, subsection C, discussion or take action on resolution 3-8-6-8. Meeting a committee for a farmer's market in the West Tawakoni City Park. Chris, it's all yours, buddy.
So, well, I guess we need more clarification. Are we approving the resolution that he submitted?
Chris, I'm not sure how many
Already
people have
approved
seen it.
the committee.
Did y'all pass it out?
I guess just the council up here, it was handed to council right as we come in.
Yeah. I mean, you tell me, Chris, that's kind of what you and I talked about.
Yes, sir. We
And
discussed, as we get it more defined, we can make changes as we go if we need to.
absolutely, you can if you need to. And, you know, this is,
Is that actually what we're looking for? Sorry, sir?
no, I was gonna say this is, when I've done this before at a council meeting and at the City of Commerce, where we created, I forget what the name of the committee was, but it was like Keep West Tawakoni Beautiful for the City of Commerce. That, you know, we created a basic framework and then came back later and filled in the framework as the committee started to meet and create itself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't think this council can sit here and define what the role of this committee is going to be, because I think if you ask all 5 members of the council, that you'd get 5 different opinions.
Right.
And I think if the council tried to impose that on the committee, it wouldn't work. The committee's going to have to create basically what it sees its duties as and bring that back to council. And when they bring their policies and procedures back, and council will either adopt them or refuse to adopt them, but I don't anticipate the latter. But I think part of that is going to be, you know, you're creating those policies and procedures and then coordinating, because you're going to be using the same property as Friends of the Library uses, and coordinating those uses with the other uses, not the Friends of the Library, Friends of the Park. You're going to be coordinating those uses with the other users at the park. And so
Should we table this so we get more information, or?
No, that's what he's saying.
No.
I mean, you can table it, you know, all you're authorizing Chris to do and this committee to do is create itself and start to work on its policies and procedures. I don't think you're going to get a farmer's market off the ground this season. But I think by next season, you should be able to have a legitimate farmer's market. And this committee.
And there may be some people in the audience too that, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying there may be some people in the audience here that we're speaking Greek to about a farmer's market that they may or may not have any knowledge at all about it. And I just thought maybe it'd be an opportunity for Chris just to summarize where that came from, what's the concept, because you don't know nothing specific. So
That tells everything. Just read the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Pam's going to read the resolution now.
Okay. So a resolution of the City Council of West Tawakoni, Texas, authorizing the creation of a committee to promote the West Tawakoni Farmers Market and providing an effective date. Whereas the City of West Tawakoni, the city, have determined that numerous residents have expressed serious interest in creating a periodic farmers market to serve the residents and visitors to the city, as well as local growers of agricultural products and handmade crafts and sundries, etc. And whereas the City Council of the City of West Tawakoni, the City Council, finds and determines that it is the best interest of the city and its residents to create a committee of responsible residents to create policies and procedures for the operation of such a farmer's market at the City of West Tawakoni Park or other such location with the city that the committee shall determine to be suitable. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of West Tawakoni, Texas, Section 1, the West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee is hereby established. Section 2, the committee shall consist of up to 12 members to be appointed by the City Council after having first been recommended by the majority vote of a quorum of the West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee. Each member shall serve a 3-year term, except that the persons designated by the numerals 1 through 4 in section 3 below shall serve an initial term of 4 years. And the person designated on the numerals 5 through 8 in section 3 below shall serve an initial 2-year term. Board members may be reappointed for additional successive terms. The West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee may have up to 12 members, but shall in any event have no less than 5 members. A quorum of the West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee shall consist of a majority of the members then appointed and serving on the board at any time. Members shall be residents of the city or its extraterrestrial jurisdiction, Hunter Rains County, or property owners within the city limits.
Extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Thank you, extraterritorial. I'm sorry.
We don't have any extraterrestrial jurisdiction.
Okay, section 3. The West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee shall recommend policies and rules to the city council of the city for the proper and orderly regulation of the farmers market and auxiliary activities. The initial board of directors of the West Tawakoni Farmers Market Committee shall be as follows: Alex Sanchez, Adolphos Valeret, Asalina Purvis, Brittany Martin, Chris Burkett, Chair, Courtney Francis, Jana Roulier, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Kathy O'Neill, Pam Reed, Secretary, Bell, and Stacy Thomas. Section 4, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its passage, and it is so resolved.
Okay, that mine. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
And then first,
I second it.
then second, all in favor,
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Martin.
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
it's unanimous. And does it say that, does it say anything about which day, you haven't determined the day of the month or anything like that?
We'll have all that for the next council meeting.
Okay, we're starting off from scratch. We can. Okay, still under, old business, section 7, subsection D, discussion and or take action, policy, on changing policy for the request to speak and the citizens input on council meetings. I would first like to address the ordinances, 2 different ordinances. One that was dated March the 17th of 87. The other that was approved June the 11th of 95. Only a few people in this room were here back in the 80s when this happened. I have to assume that these were necessary ordinances because of maybe there had to have been a cause and effect for them to do these ordinances for the citizens' input. With the sake of these ordinances. The first one is per chapter 1, section 13, subsection C6 of the West Tawakoni City Code. Any citizen wishing to speak on an agenda item may be recognized to speak for up to 3 minutes, provided the person has filled out a request form before the meeting starts. This form will show the person's name, telephone number, address, and agenda items they wish to speak on. Ordinance 110, adopted March 17th, 1986. The second one is per chapter 1, section 13, subsection C9 of the West Tawakoni Code of Ordinances of the City of West Tawakoni. Under this item of business, any citizen may be recognized to speak on any subject not on the agenda that is of public interest and that is the legitimate business of the West Tawakoni City government, provided the person stands at the podium, states their name, address, telephone number, and subject matter they wish to speak on. Each person so recognized shall be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak, as long as that person maintains a reasonable propriety. Under no circumstances shall the mayor permit a person to misuse this privilege for the purpose of personal attacks, outrages, or outbursts. Ordinance 146 passed and approved on July 11th, 1995. The following must be completed by any person wishing to speak on the agenda. I've got something to add to that. Where this comes from is during the COVID, we did Zoom and YouTube, and people weren't allowed to congregate here in the Chamber of Councils. And what we did, we went to a email in your questions, comments, or concerns. I've got something from one of the citizens. I'm not going to name their name because I didn't get permission to do so prior to the meeting. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read a real short thing of their ideas as far as continuing, possibly under certain specific provisions and circumstances, that we may continue to do the online if the council so deems they want to do that. Discussion and action, adding a provision to Chapter 1, Section 13, subsection C9 of the West Tawakoni Code, allowing the citizens of West Tawakoni who are unable to attend meetings in person to be heard during citizens' input, and stipulating requirements to qualify for any such provision. Their thoughts on this, the citizens that I'm speaking of, their thoughts on what should be discussed as a possible reason why why citizens may need such provision, allowing their comment to be read aloud. Person's health prevents them from attending in person, but would like to be heard at the citizens' input. Or possibly the person is required to work during scheduled meeting time, but would like to comment. And also a person has no means of transportation to attend the meeting. They also went on to about discussion on possible requirements that must be met for the provision. Verified resident taxpayer of the city of West Tawakoni, written or verbal explanation for the need by the individual, and or possibly require a call from the city secretary to the individual requesting to be heard. Jim, do you have any input on that?
No, I mean, the only input I would have is, I don't, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, low, we hear you.
Okay. The only thing I would say on that is, I don't see that there's a real problem with reading the statements, of course, as long as they're limited to 3 minutes and as long as they're civil and they're not abusive and they don't violate the other policies we have regarding public comments. And as long as they're owned, as long as they're signed by the author and we know who's submitting them and who, you know, that we if someone steps up to the podium to address the council, we require them to tell us their name and their address. They don't have to be residents of West Tawakoni. They can come from California and complain to the city of West Tawakoni. They're welcome to do that, but they have to tell us who they are and where they're from. As long as people are doing that, I don't see a problem with reading those kind of comments and making them part of the record, the oral record. I mean, obviously, when they submit them, and we can submit them and make them part of the written record, and they go with the secretary and become part of the record of the meeting in our public records. But if they want them read, I don't have a problem as long as it doesn't exceed, they can't write a dissertation that's 62 pages long and expect us to sit there and spend an hour reading it into the record. In other words, if it's reasonable, if it's within the 3 minute time, then I don't know that there's a problem as long as it's owned by the author. That's been, you know, what we've talked about in the past and what we've resisted reading and I don't believe we're required to read are these anonymous complaints that we're receiving that cast doubt on some council's actions or some of the council members. And, you know, if people get to live behind an anonymity, they'll say anything. But what we want is if they want to come criticize the council and they do it constructively and they own the criticism, there's not a problem with that. And that's what an open meeting is supposed to be about. But sending anonymous complaints and not owning the complaint and not having the courage to stand up and say, I'm the one complaining, it's me that's saying this. I don't think we want to read those, we won't. But in the future, if we want to expand the policy to allow people who can attend the meetings for whatever reason, but to have comments and not just complaints, because a lot of the times what people stand up and say, they're not complaints, they're comments, they're support, or there are different ideas, or there are different approaches to solve some of the problems we confront. And it's not a bad idea to have that input, but it is a bad idea to have input if it's from anonymous sources, if it's not attributable to someone. And that's what that's what we're not required by law to present a forum for. And we shouldn't present a forum for it. Facebook does a good enough job of that.
Okay.
Jim,
Yes,
this is
yes,
Kevin. You just said what my question was, required by law, right? So right now we're doing what is required by law, correct?
Yeah, we have to allow people to
Okay.
comment on the things on the agenda.
So, I mean, my thoughts or my suggestions, right, my thoughts or my suggestions would be if this council decides to start allowing these letters to come in, right, and to be read during the meetings without a person being present, if it's not required by law, I would say that it would be a resident of our city. Because if we open it up to the whole wide world, and we could be here reading letters for all night long, wasting, and I'm sorry, everybody's time, every citizen's time that sits here is valuable, as long as, and along with everybody's time sitting here. So, I mean, as long as we're abiding by the law now, if we wanted to extend an outlet to our community, our citizens, that's another thing to me.
You know what?
But extending an outlet to the world,
I don't think we can discriminate on the basis of where people live, Councilman Featherston. We don't bestow any rights of citizenship. The United States does that. We have residents, and those are people who live within the community, live within our city limits. You know, in a community like West Tawakoni, often the people we hear from are people who aren't really residents of the community, but they're property owners in the community because they're seasonal. They come in the summer and enjoy the lake, go home in the winter, you know? So I don't know that we can make that distinction.
I understand, but
I think we can make the distinction.
I don't want to get in a situation like a city next to us has gotten into.
And I guess I'm not
Can we not
familiar
do
with
it
it.
all then?
And not, yeah, we can,
I don't want to get.
What we can do is when we get those letters, we can copy them, give them every member of the council, and give them to the city secretary, and they'll become part of the record that council gets to consider. But we don't have to read them into the record. We're not required by law to do that. Now, if they can send it to a friend, they can stand up and read it into the record.
I don't want to open ourselves to what I've seen happen in other cities right next to us and other cities across Texas and other states for that matter. The world of the cyber world is pretty strong. So that's my personal belief, and I mean I'm entitled to my opinion on this council.
Well, the other question I have on that topic there is, can you pick and choose if you want to read some of them? Say you get 15 in and there's one that's really nice that, you know, you want to read, or that's really, you know, applicable.
During a deliberation, one of you can reference information during deliberation up there when y'all are debating over what not to do. You can say, I received a letter from a citizen that says we ought to do this because X, or we shouldn't do this because X, because it's going to have this unintended consequence. You can do that, yes, during your deliberations. You can deliberate fully. People in the audience are in an open meeting are allowed to give 3 minutes of presentation on whatever the subject matter is. But yes, you can do that as part of your deliberation.
Okay, and the reason, like I said, the reason that I brought this up, along with one of the other line items was because of YouTube. When the governor opened back open the state for open meetings and no mask mandates or anything like that. Of course, our first thought was, okay, we don't have to do the YouTube or Zoom anymore. Well, the first one that we did, I got a few phone calls and the citizens wanted to continue that. The same went for these reading of the comments, public comments, the citizens input. The same thing happened. I've got up here bringing this up, but no one on the council has brought this to me. I'm totally driven by citizens input throughout the day, the week, and the month of what we need to be addressing. So this is not something I dreamt up, thought about. It's something that or multiple citizens came to me with about their concerns of us turning off these public comments or citizens input on city council meetings. So that's why I did that.
Well,
Just so everybody knows. So
and I don't think, Mayor, that requiring commenters to be in person in the council takes the voice away from people who want to watch these city council meetings on YouTube. I think YouTube is a publication source. You know, it used to be that if you didn't live in a university town where they had public access television, very few city councils were televised. So if you happen to live in a university town where they had public access television, you know, they were always looking for programming, and city councils were entertaining, and they published and they televised them. But otherwise, it didn't happen. We have YouTube now. We can set a computer camera up and televise every single city council meeting that happens in the United States. We haven't been mandated to do that yet, but who knows? It may happen. The legislature loves it.
No, but I think it's a good idea.
You know, but
yeah, I think it's a real good idea to continue that.
I don't think it's a bad idea, but requiring people who want to comment to council meetings during deliberation to be there in person and comment is not a bad idea. They can always communicate with council in writing, and Annette can pass those out to y'all at the beginning of every meeting. She lay them up there and they'll be stacked up. And you can give them the weight that you want to give them, but you don't have to necessarily give them the forum of reading it on the YouTube broadcast. You know, and maybe that's a good idea, because in my experience in dealing with the cities I've dealt with that did have televised council meetings, you know, we had people come down just to give speeches that had nothing to do with anything the council was doing. You know, every time someone was running for public office, they would come in and make announcements about their candidacy at the city council meeting, and just in public speaks and general comments that had nothing to do with what the city, at that point, City of Commerce, what the City of Commerce was doing, but it gave them television access to people in Commerce who watched that on the public access station. So, you know, you may have that, but you sure don't want to let those same people get letters read, you know?
Yeah, but under the ordinance and the request to address the council, I mean, it clearly states that under this item,
they're going to be there in person.
Well, it would have talked, well, that too, but it also talks about being recognized as speech on any subject, not on the agenda, that is of public interest and legitimate business of the city of Tawakoni city government.
Well,
so
let me just say that you can say that, but if I'm standing up there telling you I'm running for the state legislature, I can make the argument that's of legitimate business to the people of the city of West Tawakoni, even though you may disagree. You may disagree. You know, we're not good. We don't censor those comments unless they start cussing or abusing the right. Otherwise, we don't censor those comments.
Okay, all right. So the chair would entertain.
I'm not gonna know how it's gonna work.
Pardon?
I'd like to come up with some kind of rules how it's gonna work. If we get 20 letters in and everybody here gets a copy of those letters, are you gonna read a list to the public to let them know who all sent letters in?
No,
And
no.
if we don't, if no councilman wants to read a letter, then none of them get read, or if one councilman wants to read one, then one gets read.
I really think if
No.
it's something really important to our citizens, they'll come in.
Yeah.
I think, you know, looking at people that are here, you know, they have something important that they want to be here for. And most of the time, you know, they show up because they do want to have something important to say. And I think if we start taking in letters, then we're kind of gypping the people who are willing to come in.
You know,
Uh,
and Mayor,
So
I'll
the
go.
other argument for that is, and that's his argument is, what about the people that can't get here? That don't have a ride, that are alien, that, you know,
But the problem is, if we take letters, we can't just say that it's our citizens.
Yeah.
Everybody and everybody.
And
read what I'm getting at, what he's.
And Councilman Myers, I think that's during your deliberation, if you have a letter from someone that you know could not be there, and you want to make part of that letter, part of that record, you can do that. You're not required to, but you can do that as part of your decision in the deliberation. But to say we have an absolute rule that we're going to read every single letter we get, even, you know, I'm not sure you want to do that.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I want to know if we can do that or not.
Yeah, you can. That's what I said. You know, during your deliberation, you have broad latitude in what you can do, you know, with it. And I'm not going to go into what you can't do. I will talk about that separately, but you have fairly broad latitude in how you can engage in that deliberation.
It needs to be written somewhere in our ordinance or whatever we've got there that states that we're not required to read the letters, but we can if we want to. But you could read a list of the people that sent letters in and let them know that every councilman got their letter. That way if they're sitting at home, they can say, okay, Leon Meyer sent in a letter, and I'd hear my name and I'd say, okay, I know every councilman got my letter. And that's what you're trying to do anyway, is talk to the council.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and we can make
It may not get read aloud, but at least you know they all got
it. And that can be something as simple as when Tyler's or the mayor is introducing the agenda item, they say, you all received letters from X, Y, and Z on this matter, and they're presented in front of you. Have those in front of you today. And make that acknowledgement. And I don't know that we have to create a hard, if you want a rule, we'll come up with a rule. But I don't know that dogmatic adherence to rules is going to solve the kinds of nuance and problems that we're talking about.
No, that's either.
I'm good.
I think it's okay like it is. If it's a problem for, maybe we deal with the exception and not the rule, you know, in the future. So what do you want to do with this item D, subsection D?
Read it again.
Annette, is what they're looking at, is that what I revised for you?
I give them both. I give them the old form and the new form.
Okay.
The new form, it has a paragraph that he has put in there. And it's just a little different from, it's just adding to.
It adds a little paragraph of language that explains what a council can do with when citizens get up and present a topic that's not on the agenda, you can't deliberate that. There's a list, you can direct it to be placed on a future agenda. You can answer a fact question, like for instance, if they say, how many gallons of water did the water treatment plant treat last month? And if somebody knows how many millions of gallons we treated, they could say we treated 7.5 million gallons or 7.5 million gallons a day or whatever it is. We can state facts that we know, or we can, or we can refer it to a staff member. You could say, Tyler's going to get with you after the meeting and get your complaint, and then we'll deal with it. And if we have to bring it back to council later, we will. And that those are the things we can do with something not on the agenda. And the reason I like having that on the form is because so many people get up and speak to the council, and they expect you right then they think when you're not addressing their concerns, you don't care. And that's not true. You do care. You're just limited to what you can do by law. And that tells them that. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Yes. So the chair would entertain a motion on section 7, subsection D. No motion, and it's just going down the table. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 8. New business discussion and or take action from the Service Club Community Project. I've had a conversation with David DeWolf. David is the new commander of the American Legion down here. And he and the rest of the service club, the other 2 service clubs, have been having conversations and trying to repair mended fences, I guess, for the lack of better words, between the service clubs, so that they may be able to do more for the community and see where they can all together collectively get involved with some of the community events that's coming up and help each other out and things like that. That being said, David, you have anything you want to add?
Okay.
That would be fine. It doesn't matter to me.
Stand it. They don't stand it. That way I can duck out of the way and get strong. So basically what it is in the past, from my involvement, what we've seen, there's been some issues with communication and making sure that everybody's on the same team. At the end of the day, our responsibility as a service club is to our veterans, and our veterans are part of the community. So therefore, my responsibility is also part of this community. And I want to help any way that I can. At the same time, I've had these conversations with the other posts, and I'm speaking on their behalf, that we would all like to come together as a community and help any way we can, but we'd also like to be involved in your activities as well as you being involved with our activities. One of those activities being Flag Day, which I have discussed with some of your members of the board, and discussed about doing a flag retirement on Flag Day. So that's just one example. The others is talking with some of your members and finding out what you need as a community that we might be able to help in, i.e. computers, TV screens, things like that, that we can help with if we can, or any activities you're doing where we can come in and help. At the end of the day, the very long story made short now is we just want to be a part and help, not just as one entity, but as an overall community. And if we can do that, that would be wonderful. And I would love to be the first person. That's why I'm here, to offer up my hand and say, I'm here. What can we do as a community and as a service club and service clubs to help you and the community and help our veterans? So that's really what it's about.
I think that's very noble. I think it's a great idea, and something I haven't seen since I've been here is the service club really getting involved. I mean, all the service clubs are great, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think bringing them, uniting them together is a big step towards community relations for not just the DSOs, but the citizens of this town too. So I commend you for doing that. any of you guys have any questions or anything like that? You might want to, this is one of the last couple of items on here. You might want to get him after the meeting or catch him down at the Legion sometime on your own. Have a discussion with him or whatever. And that's something we need to keep the VSOs aligned with what's going on within the city to see if we can, well, I go to them for help. Some of them have got some great resources and might be able to give us a great deal of help. So,
Well, I mean, one thing I'd like to say is it's pretty known that our police department is fixing to go through a pretty good clean out. It's gonna be seen when stuff's flying out of those doors here in the coming weeks. And the new chief, he's planning on doing a bunch of painting and stuff like that. So, I mean, he would probably be one of the people that would be really good for you guys to try to pair up and work with and network. I mean, there may be some retired officers or some people that have police people in there, the networking side of it, because he's going to have to hire some officers as well. So I mean, I think we would need to get with our new chief and make sure he's pairing up with you guys to just resource. I mean, even if he can get a helping hand with somebody with a paintbrush in their hand that might be able to help him in the police department, well, I'm sure he'll be able to he would love to take help.
My second vice is actually a retired officer. So I'm sure he would have he's still within the network. So I'm sure he could have some help in recommendations.
Awesome.
As for the helping hands, absolutely. We'd be happy to do that. So I am at the Legion 7 days a week. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you. My wife came up today for 5 minutes to say hello to me and said she could remember what I look like. And she said, "You got a haircut."
you need to shave one day.
Yeah, I did. I got a haircut today. I shaved my beard down to here and now it's up here. And she said, "You changed." But I'm there pretty much 7 days a week. If it's during the week, I'm there in the morning, starting at 9:30, no later. And I'm there normally until at least 5 o'clock at night, if not what night it is. And then on the weekends, I'm in about noon, pretty much the entire day till midnight. So I'm happy to help. My number's readily available as well. Chris has my number. Jim has my number. So I'm not opposed to anybody having my number. I'm not afraid if it gets too bad, I'll change it. So anything we need to help, we will. I'm happy to talk with you further about the police or anything else. And we'd love to help. I'm actually a strong supporter. It's all over my truck and cars, and I'm a police supporter. So.
I think you said something there that we really need to look at. We've got to figure out how to keep the doors of communication open to make sure they know when we have events going on so they can participate in the same thing when we have events just back and forth. We've got to figure out that door of communication all the way around with our different boards and committees and the service clubs.
Well, this kind of goes along with, the task that I've kind of assigned. You're the council's go-to for events and it seems somehow you just fell into this. You seem to always know what events are going on, when they're going on, and who's doing them and all that. So that's kind of the task that you've been given to do. I mean, everybody, Pam and Robin's got a task. Kevin's got a huge task that we've all got, so that we're not just, the citizens don't think we're just coming up here once a month and raising our hand and leaving and not thinking about the city or anything else. So if you wouldn't mind doing that and getting not only with David, but the other commanders of those, so that we can all stay on the same page, and you might even want to work on a calendar. I would love to see a calendar on our website. Go ahead, David.
We have organized, as of last week, I organized with the commanders. I'm kind of the chair for it, I guess, but I organize with the commanders. We're doing a monthly meeting. And what we do is we meet once a month, 30 minutes to an hour, depends on what we need. It's really very short. And we meet once a month, and we basically discuss exactly that, our calendars, because a lot of times we don't know.
Yep.
Things we do know, we talk about them in advance, but things coming up. So we do that once a month. It's all three commanders. I would you to, what we do is work to show our spirit of cooperation. We rotate. So 1 month it's at the American Legion, the next month it's at the VFW, the next month it's at the MBITS. That way we're all staying truly in support of each other. So if
Is
you
it
would
the
like,
same day, same time, just different places?
yes, sir.
And
Same
what are
day.
those, what are those dates and times?
I back up, but I believe we're doing it the, we did it last week. And I had mentioned that I was
I think we need to join again.
Oh, I guess the stream went out.
I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess. Hmm.
I'll try to join again.
Oh, so you just exit this one and then we just re-enter the meeting ID again or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll try that.